Hey, how's it going? So today I'm going to talk about American politics, but American politics actually matters insofar as the rest of the world is concerned and the geopolitical situation that is emerging in this third world war. Because to understand what's going on a really macro level, if you think of the First World War as sort of like the self-immolation of the British Empire, because really consider the First World War, really, I mean, the world wars from 1914 to 1945, you can really think of it as the second 30 Years' War. Mhm. And if you think about that conflict, it was really the self-destruction of the British Empire. Well, this World War III that we're experiencing now, that is happening now, it's the self-immolation of the American empire. The global American empire is collapsing, and it's in its death throes, and that's why it's embarking in all of these foreign adventures that serve no real purpose other than to, the ego and the power madness of the people in charge of the global American empire, right? And so what happens within the global American empire affects what happens without. And so what is happening now with these riots that are emerging, these riots, these race riots that are going to get a hell of a lot worse, this coming spring especially. Well, it pays you who are outside of the United States to understand that situation, okay? So what happened was, what was it, a few days ago, a week or so ago, see this black guy in Memphis, he was killed by 5 police officers. He was resisting arrest, and these 5 police officers, they beat him to death, basically. And people are saying that it was white supremacy, and people already started to riot or prepare for riots, okay? Antifa, Antifa, who are the shock troops of different factions that I'll get into in just a minute. See, they're already preparing for all kinds of riots and stuff. And of course, the 5 cops who killed this guy, they were black. so what was it? That these 5 black guys were white supremacists? That these 5 black guys were, I don't know, card-carrying members of the KKK? Come on, man. It had nothing to do with race. It had everything to do with lack of professionalism and just it's run-of-the-mill police brutality carried out by 5 untrained, undisciplined cops who killed this poor man. And, a tragedy, certainly, but, is there a racial component to this? No, but they're going to turn it into a race thing. And they're already preparing for the riots, and if something else happens here or there, and in a country as large as the United States, it's kind of like inevitable. Well, whatever other incident appears where a black man is victimized, they're going to use that, ramp it up. There are going to be huge riots, race riots, in 2023, in the spring especially. That's when it's really going to get started, okay? And it's all being pushed by the Obama faction. You got to understand this. A few days ago, I did a video called The Defenestration of Joe Biden, where I discussed the classified documents that were being used to create a scandal where there really wasn't one, create a scandal against the Biden administration. That was the first move. These race riots are the second move. I said previously in that video that I thought that the allegations of financial impropriety would be thrown at Biden, but I hadn't thought of that ace in the hole, which is the race riots, which they did on Trump back in 2020. And if you look at other color revolutions around the world, which were financed by American NGOs. Well, it's the same playbook, only applied in the United States. It's a color revolution, regime change. And the regime change that the Obama faction, the progressives, and certain financiers, and we know who we're talking about, who finance groups like, the Open Society and all that bullshit, right? Well, they are allied in this particular issue of getting rid of Joe Biden. See, for different reasons. You got to understand that these factions come together and pursue a common goal, not because they agree, but because that common goal serves their individual interests. Now, Obama, he wants to have a firmer grip on power. The progressives want to push their crazy woke ideology and all that insanity. And the financiers that I'm talking about, the Open Society people, those people, they just want chaos. They don't actually have a plan. A lot of people say that they have a plan, that they want to create a new world order. No, they don't. You should always judge people by their actions, not their words. Okay? What the open society people want is chaos. They want anarchy. They are, at heart, anarchists. They are malignant and destructive. They just want destruction. They just want to see the world burn, in that famous phrase from some movie, right? And so what they're doing is that these three factions are coming together, and they're going to push these race riots, and all in an effort to get rid of Joe Biden so that Kamala Harris is president of the United States before the primary season. I said before, see, an incumbent president can very easily win the nomination of his party. A weakened president, like, for instance, Lyndon Johnson before the 68 election, see, he will realize that he's too weak and will not run. But a newly minted incumbent president like Gerald Ford in 76, right, when he ran for president after he'd come in 74, yeah, he can swing it. And that's what they're planning on doing with Kamala. They figure that they lock her in this year. They have to do it this year. They lock her in as president, and by the time the primary season rolls around, they can lock her up as the nominee, and there'll be another crooked election in 2024, like there were in 2018, 2020, and 2022. Okay, and so that's the game plan of these various factions. They want Kamala, who's a blubbering idiot. I mean, really, they say that stupidity is not contagious. I disagree. And I would dare you to listen to Kamala Harris for like 24 hours straight. And at the end of that period, I would not be surprised that, halfway through, you'll actually start to feel your IQ points leaking out of your ears. And at the end of this 24-hour period of listening to Kamala Harris, you will probably need special care, special treatment, because you will no longer be a functioning member of society, because your IQ points will have diminished so drastically from listening to that foolish woman for a solid day. I mean, that's how stupid that woman is. And she proves that stupidity is contagious. I mean, I can't listen to her for more than 2 minutes before I want to just tear my hair out or just flee or just become I feel more stupid after listening to her. Anyway, kidding aside. See, they want her as president because she's stupid enough that she's going to be easy to control. I mean, that's the whole point, okay? I mean, why do you think that, Obama has been her political godfather for so long? See, she is a fool. She doesn't contribute anything, but she is an easy finger puppet to manipulate. And that's what Obama wants. He has said so repeatedly in public that what he would really love to be is the man behind the curtain whispering to the president what to do while he just goes out and golfs all day and doesn't have to deal with the hassle of actually being president. See, he's an evil fuck as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, he has that goal. The progressives have the goal of more wokesterism, more insanity, more cultural suicide. And the open society people and all of those NGOs connected to big money, because it's not just Soros. There are several different billionaires who want this. I can't quite believe it. But they want this insanity. You should look at what Jeff Bezos' ex-wife has done with her billions that she got from the divorce settlement. She's funded all kinds of crazy-ass NGOs that their only purpose is to create chaos in the United States. It's just insane. And anyway, the point is that, see, in late-stage collapsing empire, you have this situation where you have these different factions that are stridently jockeying for position because there's no real power at the center. See? Empires start to collapse when you lose that strong center. See? This is what happened with the German Empire after Wilhelm II got rid of Bismarck. See, Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, he had things in hand. He had them in control. And once Wilhelm pushed him aside and started pursuing all these stupid ideas, going here, going there, building up his navy and whatnot, he created the conditions for the collapse of the German Empire. So anyway, this late-stage collapsing empire, well, you who are outside the United States, you who might be affected by the foreign policy measures that the United States carries out in your country or your area of the world, you should be paying attention. to these race riots, because what's going to happen is that as Joe Biden's position deteriorates, and it'll deteriorate rapidly, don't kid yourself, as his position deteriorates, he's going to try to hold on. And different factions are going to come into play, and so there's going to be a whole lot of political infighting. And what will that mean in terms of the rest of the world? It means that different smaller factions, like in the State Department, they will have less supervision and will be able to pursue more outrageous strategies. And in fact, some of the factions pushing to get rid of Joe Biden and installing Kamala Harris, once Kamala Harris is installed and she has her stumbles, which she will have, they will also throw foreign policy issues, create foreign policy crises in order to distract attention from Kamala and focus it elsewhere, okay? And so, you see, this change that's coming in the American government, it's going to affect you and the rest of the world. And so far as you and the United States are concerned, it's just going to create more chaos for you. And chaos that you're going to feel so far as inflation is concerned, insofar as supply chain disruptions are concerned, insofar as capital investment is concerned. Because, see, nobody wants to invest when they see a society starting to teeter and deteriorate, especially on the political level, see? And, you know, if you thought that the Joe Biden administration was bad, Kamala is here to tell you, you know, hold my beer, you know. It's going to be a hell of a lot worse with Kamala than with Joe. But these people, they might even realize this to a certain extent at some, you know, visceral level. But these people are so hell-bent to get power that they're kind of like, you know, captains on the Titanic fighting with each other, rather, to get hold of the wheel of the Titanic, even as the ship is sinking. See? This is what happens in all collapsing empires, and the rest of the world has to be careful. See? So pay attention to the American political situation. You know, I've given you a little precis here as to what's going on. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse. And for you in the United States, it's going to get much, much worse. Okay? Really. And also, too, as the issue of the medicine, let's call it that, becomes too big to hide, because it's getting there. And you're starting to see a lot of people screaming in denial, and other people, you know, at least a little bit more honest, are starting to realize, hey, you know, those anti-shot people, they were right, apparently. I mean, like this guy, Scott Adams, you know, who claims to be this big seer of the future, he's finally admitted that, you know, the medicine didn't work. And he started to realize what a lot of us knew, you know, 18 months ago, for crying out loud. Anyway, the point, see, things are going to get a lot worse. And there's no way to fix it. Because, you see, there is no faction within the American establishment that is chock full of really competent people who have the avowed purpose of withdrawing from foreign entanglements and cleaning up house, if you will. See? I mean, people say that there's Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and a few other minor politicians, but they're minor politicians. They don't have the bureaucratic levers to assume power and make actual change that will be to the benefit not just of the United States, but of the world. Because the United States collapse is creating this chaos around the world. And the rest of the world, or at least the leadership of the major powers, they are perfectly aware of the historic moment that they are living in. That's why they've been so cautious. The Chinese and the Russians, it's all been just very slow and methodical grind. They're not trying to pull a Pearl Harbor moment. They're trying to keep it as quiet as possible as they relentlessly improve their position. And as Washington randomly thrashes its arms around in order to improve its decaying foreign policy position, its geopolitical position. See? I mean, like right now in Ukraine, here in this conflict, right? What are they talking about? They're talking about the tanks, and finally, okay, we're going to send some tanks, but it's going to take months, and so they're talking about F-16s, and pretty soon, like I said before, they're going to rise up to F-35s. But what is this? It's piecemeal bullshit. It's thrashing around. It's not a coherent policy, see? because these factions in the United States, they don't know what they're doing. See? And so they're fighting each other for power. They're doing all kinds of crazy-ass stuff. They're thrashing around at random around the world, creating chaos. And within the United States, there is no faction that can come in, clean house, take over, clean house, and improve the lives of the American people while withdrawing their foreign adventurism. There is no such class, because you need a fairly strong class within the bureaucracy, the political bureaucracy and also the governmental bureaucracy, to come in, assume power, clean house. There's no such faction. The last best hope for this house cleaning in the United States was Donald Trump. And he frittered away the chance because of failures and flaws of his own character. I mean, he was the wrong man. He spouted the right lines, but he was the wrong man because he didn't understand real power, certainly not political power. He didn't understand what was going on. He just said the right-sounding bullshit that got him the votes, but he didn't have what it took to clean things up. And instead of surrounding himself with people who did, he deliberately and foolishly surrounded himself with people of the establishment who were just going to continue, carrying on what they were doing. He hired John Bolton, for crying out loud. I mean, do you need any more proof of what I'm saying? Come on. And so the point remains, there is no faction within the United States that will fix this. And so this collapsing empire, it's inevitable, okay? Because these various factions, they're all incompetent. You got to understand that. They have the right degrees. They went to the Ivy League school. Hell, I went to an Ivy League school. I was there. They're fucking morons. I was there, okay? So I know what I'm talking about. They're really good at taking the test. They're really good at complying and doing what everybody else is doing so as to climb a little bit higher on the ziggurat. But none of them has any kind of initiative. None of them really even cares about the American people. They only care about each other, see? So they're going to ignore the justified grievances of the American people. There's going to be more repression across all fronts. There are going to be more race riots. It's going to get shitloads worse before it gets better. And it's really not going to get better. It's just going to get just really shitty. And, of course, the great problem is that the Ukraine conflict, it's becoming very clear over the last few days that the American establishment finally has recognized that the Ukraine situation is lost. The Russians have won it. And now it's just, it's all over but the shouting. And so what's going to happen is that they're going to start to try to figure out how to get out of Ukraine, marshal their resources, and go after China. Because to them, China is it. And Russia was supposed to be just a stepping stone to China, but it's not working out. So screw it. Let's pull out of Ukraine somehow, gather up our forces, and go for China. And people are openly saying, in the American establishment, in the American military establishment, some admirals and generals have been saying this over the last few days, that what they should really be focusing on is 2025, when the war with China starts. And the Chinese, oh man, they're going to be ready for it. Anyway, before I end this video, just want to do a couple of quick personal notes to all the well-wishers who wish me to get better as soon as possible because of my motorcycle accident the other day. Thank you so much. Insofar as the knee is concerned, it was definitely just a sprain, a very bad sprain, but just sprained. And it's getting slowly better. My rib hurts like a son of a bitch, man. I'm telling you. Because I must have, when I fell on my side, on my left side, my elbow crashed into my lower rib, like the second to last rib, and clearly fractured it badly. Because now, whenever I cough or sneeze or hiccup or try to blow my nose, it hurts. Even like now, when I'm speaking to you and I just inhale a little bit extra breath, it hurts. It's just not fun at all. And my wrist, yeah, I definitely fractured my right wrist, but it's minor. It'll go away in a few weeks. And what else? And also, my head is a little fuzzy, and because of my fuzziness, today I did something stupid. I stupidly and casually wrote a reply tweet on my Twitter account, and I was indiscreet in my use of language, and that resulted in a 1-week suspension from Twitter. So I'd ask you, if you're on Twitter and anybody wonders what happened to me, just tell them I'm a week suspension until next Monday. It was my own stupid fault because I was fuzzy. I wasn't thinking straight. But the good thing is that I'm not going to be on Twitter anymore, which is an enormous time suck. So, there's that. And what else did I want to say? To my Patreon supporters, on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing the makeup broadcast, which I was supposed to do on Sunday, but I was just in physically no shape to do it. And I hope to be in the physical shape to do it on Wednesday. And if I can't do a full broadcast to take your questions and comments on Wednesday, I'll break it up on like Wednesday and then another on Thursday. It'll depend on how I feel, but I'm definitely going to do a show on Wednesday for my Patreon supporters. And finally, there's something else on my mind. No, that's pretty much it. So I want to thank you, and thank you for your well wishes. That was very kind of you. And that's it. Take it easy.